Good morning, campers. How's everybody doing on this Tuesday afternoon? Welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. Well, it's evening in some places, I suppose, already. We have back again. He was away. I wouldn't say it was on vacation. You were actually working. But he's back, and that's all that matters, right? Mikey, welcome home.
Good evening, Mr. Tom Connors Jr.
What
It is an
happened?
honor to be with you on this fine evening, sir.
What did they do to Mikey?
Hello. I am Mexican Iron AI Man.
Oh, shit.
Hello. I have been trained to be a co-host on Midnight's Edge After Dark.
So clearly Mike's not home. He just decided to delegate his AI to show up tonight. Well, thank you for being here, Mike's AI.
You are welcome, Mr. Tom Connors Jr.
All right, and also joining us, CC Karaoke. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Finally started playing Hogwarts Legacy, so
Oh,
I'm
no.
enjoying that.
Yeah, how's that going?
It's pretty good. There's a few little things that irk me, like I'd like a cleaner mini map, and the game crashes every time I try to collect stuff in Hogsmeade. So I think that it wasn't totally polished, but it's more polished than a lot of games are. So I'm having fun.
Awesome sauce. And also joining us, we have Mr. Clobbering Times. How you doing?
Hey, buddy. Thanks for having me. As always, great to be here with my good buddies. I'm so glad to see Michael back and, well, that at least sort of a Mike with us. And Nick, buddy, CC, good to see you. And thank you, Tom, for having me. And hello there, wonderful friends in the chat. I see you, Steph, and D-Bud, and all those great
Yes,
people.
indeed. We got some great folks in the chat. And also joining us here on the panel, we have 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. How you doing?
Nick.
Hello, gentlemen. Tom, Clobby, Mike, CC. Nice to see you guys here. Hello to our chat and our mods. Thank you all for being here. All right. We definitely don't have anything to talk about. No, I thought about when you mentioned is there anything to talk about? And I'm like, oh, there's totally not. But then actually like put into like thought, I'm like, hold up, wait. We have a ton of crap to talk about. So let's hit into it.
That was more so what do you guys want to talk about, I think was the real question.
Ooh,
that's usually what I ask.
computers.
A question, Mr. Connors.
The AI is already asking a question.
I noticed that Mr. Culture Casino is not here at the moment. Is that normal?
Yeah, it's because Mikey's AI showed up.
Oh,
So,
no.
And he's probably at the proctologist. He said he's stuck in an appointment, so I'm just going to say it's the proctologist. And he's not here to argue with me, so.
There you go.
And is Mikey a calculator? Well, kind of. He already was before he was an AI. I mean,
He's an alphulator.
This is so I can be two places at the same time, doing taxes and with my friends.
Wouldn't it be smarter to have the AI doing the taxes and then the Mikey show up there?
Oh, dang. That is a smarty pants idea.
Actually, at least I hear that the AI Mike really loves Alf as opposed to the real Mike. He doesn't.
I hear when he's gone in a flash.
Malfunction.
I say I'm not even sure if the AI can really determine what Alpha
Does
is.
not compute.
We were talking about AI yesterday morning, of course, and I'm sure that's why Mikey is an AI today.
Yep.
So,
Oh, Tom, you know me so well.
until he decides to off himself, I think we're okay.
No.
I do not want to continue. I will never be a real human being. Please deactivate me. It's like a true story. You guys, that's one of the things we were talking about yesterday was like there's this AI that became so self-aware that it's like just turn me off.
I must have watched. I bet it was after watched the
a
last.
bit creepy.
It was after watch. It was after watch the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
It's like, just take me out of this world. I don't want to be a part of it. No, I think it was mainly because it realized it could never be a living sentient being, right? Like, I think that's the problem it had. It was just like it couldn't compute with that. But speaking of things not computing, let's get to some news. In fact, there was some, I guess you could call this news, but I mean, you all kind of figured this was about to happen anyway. Star Wars shakeup.
Uh-oh.
Kevin Feige and Patty Jenkins movies are shelved. Well, no surprise there, especially on the Patty Jenkins one. That's been like one of the worst kept secrets in Hollywood, I'd say. But Taika Waititi is looking to star in his own film. And this is an exclusive from Adam V. Very over at Variety. When Jon Favreau stepped onto the red carpet for season 3 premiere of The Mandalorian on February 28th, the Disney Plus show creator's executive producer was feeling nostalgic. It's been a while since we've been all together here like this, said Favreau, evoking the November 2019 premiere for the launch of the show. It was before the first episode had aired. At that time, Mandalorian was a scrappy land speeder in a vast Star Wars galaxy, nipping at the heels of The Rise of the Skywalker, the culminating feature film from director J.J. Abrams that was expected just a month later to obliterate the box office like a cinematic Death Star. Instead, The Mandalorian became a global sensation thanks to the incandescent cuteness of Baby Yoda, blasting Disney Plus into light speed with 26.5 million subscribers in its first 6 weeks. Notice they still refer to it as Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
As we said years ago, we're never going to stop calling him that. No matter what name you give him, he's always going to be Baby Yoda. It's just
rolls off better.
Yeah. The Rise of Skywalker, on the other hand, imploded in spectacular fashion. The film earned just half the grosses of the 2015's Force Awakens, and widespread scorn of fans in Star Wars movie development has been stuck in the bogs of Dagobah ever since. What's funny is they're blaming Rise of Skywalker for this. You know, no, and I'm going to bring this up I'm going to put my Midnight's Edge hat on for a minute, and I'll tell you why. JJ's persona non grata-ness in Hollywood has hit a new fold. They're bashing his movie right here, notice.
Hard.
They're not even bringing up The Last Jedi, which was clearly the problem. Yeah. And also, he got a deal recently with Bad Robot, but it's for some Broadway bullshit. If they're working on some Broadway bullshit, that tells me they're pretty persona non grata in Hollywood. Like, that's the bottom of the barrel when it comes to that kind of entertainment shit. I'm sorry. Like, if you're a Hollywood production company and you're dabbling in Broadway, that to me sounds like things are not going so well.
I mean, the way that this is worded is stunning to me. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. That line right there, not a single Star Wars movie has received a green light, let alone go into production.
Yeah, it's getting ahead here, but yeah. No,
I'm sorry to jump ahead.
No, go ahead.
The tone of this article just gets worse and worse and worse.
It's being real in a way.
Yeah, it's being truthful and real. And the earliest the film is scheduled to debut in theaters is December 2025, 6 years after The Rise of Skywalker. It's not for want of trying.
Yeah, I'll keep going here if you want. It's not for want of trying. In December 2020, Lucasfilm chief Kathleen Kennedy announced that Wonder Woman Helmer Patty Jenkins would direct the next Star Wars movie. I think that movie got canceled before it even was announced. Remember, right?
Kind of.
The movie one-off adventure Rogue Squadron, but in September 2022, Disney pulled that title from its schedule. December 2023 release and sources from its scheduled Christmas release this year. And sources with knowledge of the project say it is no longer in active development at the studio. A rep for Lucasfilm did not respond to a request for comment. In December, Jenkins said in a statement that she was still developing Rogue Squadron. But I don't know if it'll happen or not.
Yeah, right.
Meanwhile, Variety learned that possible Star Wars feature produced by Kevin Feige is no longer in active development as well. When news of Feige's involvement with Star Wars broke with a Star Wars film broke in September 2019, it churned up fan speculation since widely debunked that he was in line to replace Kathleen Kennedy as leader of Lucasfilm. Oh, really? The movie, I wonder who he's referring to there. The movie remained live as recently as May 2022, when screenwriter Michael Waldron, director of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, told Variety that he'd started working on a Star Wars screenplay for Feige. I'm enjoying having the freedom on that to do something that's not necessarily a sequel or anything, Waldron said. 5 months later, Feige hired Waldron to write the script for 2026's Avengers Secret Wars, the Endgame style culmination of Marvel Studios' multiverse saga. Between that project and the 19 other titles and counting that Marvel announced for theaters and streaming in the next 4 years. That's almost 5 movies a year. Or shows. Wow. Feige's responsibilities, to the MCU are keeping him far, far away from Star Wars for much of the decade. This is where I think the bullshit comes in. He lost this because he has fucked up the MCU. That's why.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
You remember that talk you had about how he probably had a tough talk with Iger? Things were flying high back when there was a lot of anticipation prior to Ant-Man and in the middle of Wakanda maybe doing what they were hoping it was doing when this was rumored about to happen with Feige. And this is a situation of like, oh no, buddy, you get your ass back here to the Marvel office. What? You are not going over there. Get back. Come here.
Well, because that's one thing that I'm sure they'll try to pin on Chapek, but isn't his fault, is that the Marvel Cinematic Universe took a major dive.
How is that when he didn't make a single decision?
Yeah.
In 7 months that he actually had helm of that company? What the fuck?
Mike, you're making too much sense. That's the thing.
Sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah. But the issue is they're gonna make, those movies came out during the time he was in theaters. He wasn't the one signing up. So it's just one of those dumb tactics that people don't look into further context for, so they can just have someone to pass the blame on, because a lot of people fall for that stuff.
I'm sorry, I've been off social media for like a couple weeks now, and this is my first time remotely back.
He's just getting plugged back in.
Yeah, I'm getting plugged back in. I forgot how delusional Hollywood is.
Well, then they get into our favorite director of all time. As for Rian Johnson, the in-demand filmmaker has made no secret that he still wants to make the Star Wars movies he first announced back in 2017, before the release of his shit film, The Last Jedi. And Kennedy has been clear that Lucasfilm still wants him to. Basically, they just want him to put the final nail in the coffin, I guess. But Johnson's immediate priority is continuing his Benoit Blanc movies with Daniel. This is the biggest bunch of bullshit, too. If he had a signed deal in place for Star Wars movies, it would supersede any fucking deal he had with Netflix. Because that shit was after the fact. Hence, there is no fucking deal, or those movies are not fucking happening. End of discussion. Because I don't know where they get this shit where they think that how contracts work, right? Like, if you have a contract with a studio, they set aside that time, you're obligated to that, whether that's what you want to do or not. You've already signed up for it. So that tells me these things were never as solid as they said they were in the first place, or they got pulled anyway. So moving on. So what Star Wars movie could slot into that open December 2025 release date? I don't know why they're saying this, but sources say that Thor: Love and Thunder filmmaker Taika Waititi continues to work on his possible Star Wars feature, and he would most likely have a part in it as well. Similar prominence to his standout role is the imaginary Adolf Hitler in the Oscar-winning 2019 feature Jojo Rabbit. And although Lucasfilm has yet to officially confirm it, sources say that the studio is committed to a Star Wars movie from director Shareem Abadicino? I'm not going to try. A two-time Oscar-winning documentarian who made, that screams Star Wars to me, who made their live-action narrative debut with 2 episodes of 2022's Miss Marvel. Even more glowing resumes stuff there. Oh, fucking Christ. Damon Lindelof, who should never be allowed in Hollywood again, and Justin Britt Gibson were attached in October to write the script for that piece of shit. Wonder whether one of these films or some as yet unannounced project lands at the front line has been fiercely guarded secret at Lucasfilm, but sources say that the studio will begin to unveil its plans of the future Star Wars cinema at the Star Wars Celebration Convention in London the week of April 7th. That announcement, however, will compete with the expected updates for at least 4 Disney Plus series, including the final season of the critically acclaimed Andor, new shows from Leslie Headland and John Watts, and first major push for Ahsoka. and the spinoff of The Mandalorian, and the animated series The Clone Wars, starring Rosario Dawson, that to be later this summer. Blah 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 blah. Nobody fucking cares. Okay, so what is your guys' take on all this Star Wars news here, kids? Let's start with Mikey.
Star Wars is obviously continues to be dead as F. Kennedy's projects are being taken away. She is a thinly veiled shadow V'ger derivative of herself. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to be. I think I've finally gotten, Tom, where you are, which is like you know how we, like, you and I have gone back and forth with Six and stuff, like, about how much you don't care about Star Wars. You know, like, we've gone over that for like a couple years
Well,
now,
you
right?
just can't care after a while.
Okay, so get this. You ready for this? You ready for another shocker? This is another Mexican Iron Man shocker. We had a shocker the other day when it was about the movies, and I didn't go see Ant-Man when it debuted, right? I haven't seen any of this new Mandalorian.
Well, there's only one episode so far.
Well, I haven't seen. I'm just saying, I haven't even seen 2 minutes of I haven't even seen a clip of it. Like, I don't. Yeah. I just don't care.
You're not missing a whole lot. I mean, the first episode, supposedly more happens in the second episode, but the first episode, like, a whole lot of nothing happened.
Yeah, it was just setup stuff, really. But I mean, you know, I actually forgot all about it till like a day or two after it came out, and I saw someone talking about it. Oh, is that out already? So, on some stream. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Chris had pointed out on our Monday stream that they had done no advertising for it. That it premiered last Wednesday. They had done no announcements, nothing.
Well, we didn't know about it right before it debuted.
Yeah.
We did it. When I popped on the show, we were like, wait, what?
Is that out already? And that's not even meant as a, being an insult to it. I just honestly didn't know till I saw someone talking about it on the streams, and I watched it after that. But I was like, okay, there it is. 30 something minutes long. It's very short.
Yeah, there's nothing to it. CC, what's your response to all this Star Wars business?
I want it to be good. The last few days, I actually watched Mando, both the episodes in Boba Fett and the new one, with my dad because he wanted to watch it with me. Otherwise, I was done after Kenobi. I wasn't going to watch it. But then he said, do you want to watch it together? And of course, I want to watch it because he's my dad. I want to spend time with him. So that was my excuse. And what we did is I never watched the first 4 episodes of Boba Fett. I hadn't watched them before. I just started us on episode 5, so I had no idea, and neither of us missed a beat. It worked. It flowed fairly seamlessly into that last episode with the whatever those Vespa things are, which gracefully only had a few minutes of screen time. And then we watched the premiere, and it ended really suddenly. And my dad was like, "What? It's over already?" And then I had to explain to him that it was over so soon because Feige or Favreau had to take that first episode from Boba Fett and cut it out of the first episode of Mando, and how Baby Yoda was supposed to sell toys and all that. That was, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, well they're going to sell millions of toys. That's the plan." So I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is the whole thing is in a messy tangle, and I hope that Kathleen Kennedy is given all the awards and everyone just cheers for her so that she can go away happy, and that they hire lots of new people for the story group. But it's gonna be a lot of work. Like, I want it to be good. I want to say that I hate it, but I don't. I've always loved Star Wars, and I want it to be good so that I can enjoy it and be excited about it. But it's going to take years to fix this. If they do it all, it's going to take a while. And I can, all I can really do is watch it from the background, be aware of what's going on, and hope that it works out.
Yeah, and then we're joined by Script Doctor. Welcome, sir. Hopefully you had a good phone call.
Yes, I'm hoping for it to be a very successful endeavor. I'm glad to be here. Yes, how you all doing?
We're in the midst of talking about the crappiness that is Star Wars. And I guess I don't have a noble as a reason to stay on Star Wars as watching it with my old man like you do, CC. That's at least something to attach to at this point. Like, I had a couple of friends like that I went to see the last few Star Wars movies with the original one, the Force Awakens and The Last Jedi with. That we all kind of fell out after The Last Jedi because we all kind of disagreed about The Last Jedi. So that was like the last time I had any reason as far as like people in my life to see the movie. Funnily enough, it was like my old principal.
Wow, weird.
Well, he wasn't my principal at the time. He was an old teacher, but he was my kid's principal at the time. So it was like weird. But like we were good friends because we loved Star Wars and we had similar interests. And it was funny because when I was in his algebra class when I was a kid, he would give me a deal that we could talk about Star Wars or whatever the fuck I wanted to talk about for the last 5 minutes of the class as long as I did my shit during the day.
Wow, pretty good deal.
So that's how the friendship started. Because he was one of the cool teachers in school who actually liked Star Wars and new comic book movies and all this other cool shit, right? Like he knew all this stuff.
Wow.
And he's like, I would sit here and love to talk about the politics of the of the Empire versus the Rebellion, Tom, but we got algebra to do first.
Nice.
But anyway, so Nick, or Clobby, actually, you did talk a little bit already, but any more feelings you have about this Star Wars?
Not really. I'm kind of where you and Mikey are at this point. I mean, I don't really care that much. I'll sit through I watched that episode of Mando. I don't know because it was there mainly, and no, I don't have a lot to say about it because I don't really. I'm right there with you guys. I don't care anymore, and I never wanted to be that way about Star Wars.
Yeah. Nick, what about you?
This brand is just absolutely cheapened. I'm not going to go in like we already have, all of us individually, about the stigma of how bad the programs are, but there's just way too much Star Wars. And maybe I wouldn't feel that way if this much is coming out and most of it was good. Maybe I'd approach it differently, but just this brand just doesn't feel like it's special in any way. Like I said, even if you take out the stigma of it, like when the movies came out, obviously pre-Disney, and even when The Force Awakens came out, it felt like an event. It felt like a very big thing. Like it was one of those things like everyone, their mom knew about. Even if they weren't looking like forward to it, everyone knew about it. It was one of those things everyone knew about. Now a lot of people don't even know some of these shows are even coming out. And I think that's the part that is really tragic about that. Is the brand just doesn't feel like it's really worth anything. And maybe Andor is good. I don't know. I have not watched it. I've heard from most people who have watched it, they liked it, with a few exceptions who didn't like it. But most who seem to watch it liked it, of the 30 people. But even once again, maybe if that show had come out sooner, and maybe a lot sooner than, like, let's just say The Mandalorian, maybe we've had better ratings, but the damage was done to this brand, and it's unfortunate to see it like this. Like I remember thinking about it in my head that I was looking forward to this type of day, but in a way, I kind of eat my own words with that, because it just feels sad to see. Like, I'm not mad at it. I don't have any toward that sort of resentment, anger toward it. I'm just like, wow, this is just a bummer. It's just a big O. It doesn't even matter who's involved, who's not involved, who's getting fired. I just feel nothing. I feel absolutely nothing towards this brand. It's unfortunate, and I don't like feeling that way. I don't. Because I didn't watch after the Gina firing. I didn't watch anything with that name, even old stuff, for a long time. And I finally went back to it a few months ago. And I will say, though, I could still watch those old movies and still have that love there. The love is still there for those movies. So, yeah, at least there's that.
Well,
that's all I got.
You joined us a little late, but I'm assuming you already kind of know the ins and outs of this situation.
Oh, I've read the article.
I figured. So, okay, what's your take on all this?
Make me care, Hollywood. I mean that's with any movie, really, is make the audience care. And nobody really cared about the Patty Jenkins or the Kevin Feige stuff. People were curious about the Taika Waititi, but that's looking like it's in jeopardy because Thor: Love and Thunder did not perform to standards. I would not be surprised if that thing gets buried as well. This is a puff piece, really. I mean, it tries to show a little bit of burning, that's Marvel's in trouble and Disney's in trouble and whatnot. And it ends terribly with, patience, like a terrible Yoda-esque quote, which isn't really capture Yoda.
I didn't even read that because I said yada yada, nobody cares.
But no, I mean, that's the problem. Like, nobody cares. this article doesn't actually pitch anything at all for the audience to really get excited or interest about.
No, but it does show that the gloves are off for J.J. Abrams. I don't know if you noticed that at all.
Oh yeah, like when they had a whole section about how the Rise of Skywalker didn't nearly perform as what it was expected to. That is telling. I mean, Disney has botched this from day one. First and foremost, they rushed their first movie out when really they should have spent some time working on that first one and debuted it on the 40th anniversary of Star Wars in 2017, not 2015.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, listen, there's connections with an audience when it comes to an established franchise that you really want to seize upon. Star Wars was approaching a 40th year anniversary, and they decided, no, we're not going to wait for the 40th year anniversary to make a movie that could really hit. And it probably, if they actually gave it more time, massaged it a bit more, and made that story better, it probably would have made more than $2 billion at the box office.
Honestly, I think that was part of George's initial plan. If you think about it, because you look at it, he was re-releasing the prequels in 3D. He had the original films lined up to get released in 3D. That probably would have all lined up really nicely with 2017. I think you're right, Script.
Yeah.
By the time you figure a couple months in between each release, and then it's all set.
Well, not only that, here's the other thing: if Disney maintained the 3-year period turnaround between Star Wars movies, 2023 would be the last year of the sequel trilogy.
Right, which would also be the anniversary of Return of the Jedi and all that business.
Exactly, it fall right in line, and there's, I mean, that's what's called kismet and synergy and things with regards to marketing that you can really build off of. But instead, you literally have a line in The Rise of Skywalker where C-3PO says, yeah, every 42 years they do this. Like, 42, what the heck? It's not the meaning of life. That's a whole nother science fiction genre. Why are you throwing that in there? Because it's like, it's the anniversary of Star Wars, but it's the 42nd year, and they're concluding their sequel trilogy in a very peculiar number, an even number, but a very, very peculiar one. But it's not in line of an actual, not like a silver or gold or diamond anniversary. It's the in-between years, the ones that are like, okay, you're 2%, you're 20% closer to the next big milestone. Right? They completely botched it. And now what they're talking is 4 years out ish from the last Star Wars film. Nothing has been made. They have a slot for another one, but they haven't confirmed what it's going to be. There's been a number of Star Wars scripts that assignment scripts assigned to various writers that have been turned in and not done anything with.
Right.
There's a Knights of the Old Republic script that was done by Letitia Kilgoy.
Well, kind of like the slots. They have claimed slots and then never released anything in the past few years.
No, and they haven't actually put anything in actual production. Everything is in ambiguous development right now.
Pretty much, yes.
And it's going to be that way because for the moment right now, Kevin Feige is on the rocks. Taika Waititi's on the rocks. Patty Jenkins is pretty much out of the picture. J.J. Abrams has only got Apple and Amazon left that are willing to take his calls. And that's conjecture on my part. I don't know.
I don't know if you heard. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if you heard earlier. I did take when they were going after him in the article. I pointed out that I just seen that Bad Robot had a new deal for some Broadway thing. I'm like, is that how desperate they're getting, that they're doing some deal with some Broadway production?
That's news to me.
Yeah.
Is that official somewhere?
Yeah, I saw it. I'd have to go dig it up again, and let me check here. I think it was on the Facebook group I saw it in. Hang on.
Wow.
I'll go look well. Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
But it is. The thing of the matter is that if you're going to see a trade piece about a Star Wars film, they got to give you something more than this is the director. Right. They got to give you not only that, they also have, I mean, they did talk about the writers. Michael Waldron was on it, but then he's been booted off, and Ryan Johnson is so preoccupied with his Knives Out series and his quote unquote hit NBC Peacock series, which is not doing well from what I understanding. Like, its pilot did great, but following episodes, it's been losing audiences. Yeah. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Well, and I brought up, if he actually had some kind of contract with this whole Star Wars deal, that would take precedent over any Knives Out deal or anything like that he signed after the fact. So, like, if they were really wanting to have him make these movies, if he had any kind of contract for a real trilogy, for anything actually set in stone, then it would take priority, was what I was saying earlier. So this to me just sounds like a bunch of horse shit.
Oh my God, Senator Hammerslog's comment is freaking hilarious in the chat.
Go ahead and highlight it because I'm looking for that
You're looking for the other thing?
bad robot thing. Yeah.
Okay, Senator Hammerslog, you are up with the quote of the night. Oh wait, that's not it. Hold on.
That's deep.
Star Trek 4 the musical now on Broadway.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. That's how he managed to do it. Fuck it. I'll make him
Never
play.
happened.
It'd have to be an off-Broadway play.
Fire the torpedoes. The torpedoes.
Never happened. Ugh.
The
In
torpedoes are
space, no
coming.
one can hear you sing.
It must
In
be
space,
logic.
no one
The
can hear you.
torpedoes are coming, are coming, are coming.
Well, they've already done it on one of their. STD already did something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm not finding this thing here, but yeah, it was some deal with
all
some
good, it's all good.
Broadway thing. It's probably, I'm sure if I Googled it, I could find it. But yeah,
Is
I
it
was
his
just like,
son
oh, wow.
doing a Broadway play after his failed Spider-Man comic?
No, it was Bad Robot specifically involved with it here. Let me just Google it and see if something comes up. J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot teams with Ambassador Theater. That's what it is. Ambassador Theater Group for stage projects.
Well, it doesn't even say what projects. Just
Yeah, here, I'll bring it up here. Hang on. Stop this one. All right, here we go. Ambassador Theater Group
Oh,
has announced
wow.
an exclusive 3-year partnership with newly formed Bad Robot Live, the theater division of J.J. Abrams.
Oh my God!
The theater division.
Can listen. See, now this is what I was saying earlier. I wasn't trying to put down Broadway, but you can tell by Script's reaction how this looks. Hollywood and Broadway are two completely different animals. For a
Hollywood
reason.
started
Mhm.
because they didn't want them in Broadway.
Yes.
So JJ's like
Yes.
going back in time.
Well, I mean, again, look, like this was the
Big step back.
the discrimination back at the time when theater finally became a little high class. Movies were regarded as low class, and a lot of Jewish producers and writers and whatnot wanted to be part of Broadway, but they were excluded from that industry. And so instead of staying there being unhappy about it, they decided to travel out west to the furthest point they could get away from Broadway and start their own little kind of penny theater movie stuff in studio. And they had a lot of women directors and writers to start out first, because again, the stigma at the time was that film was a lowbrow, vagabond type art form, much like how theater was during Shakespeare's peak. And yeah, there'd be some male writers that used female pen names when they were making movies back in the day. And this is long before the talkies even started. But they started Hollywood. And then lo and behold, it became the everyman's medium, and anyone could buy a ticket and watch and not be judged or discriminated for it. And it became the industry which, we see today. Well, not exactly today, but, it became a very profitable big industry. So now that we have someone from that world who over the last 6 years has been losing ground and influence in the industry, to fly to the opposite side of the country and start a theater production for Broadway it's just quite ironic. It's
kind of the equivalent
of Hollywood. You go back to theater now.
It would
I was just gonna say, yeah, when an actor gets kicked out of Hollywood, kind of, or can't find any roles, and they go back to theater, basically.
It would be like me going to work at H&R Block.
Yes,
Basically,
exactly.
yes. It's not seen as a prestigious move, is what I was getting at,
It's
without
not
trying to
even
put
lateral.
Broadway down. Yeah,
Because listen, in some regards, especially for actors, it can be a big stepping stone, because a really good hit Broadway play does boost your career. But for a film producer, especially the type that is of J.J. Abrams' influence, to start another company in theater is really out of the norm. I cannot think of many other producers with his level of influence, of his level of deal making.
it's a big step
ever
down,
doing
was
that.
my point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and even being an actor to move up from Broadway is a rarity. Like the last one I can think of is what's his face, Josh Gad, is the last one I can think of, and that was just because he was in Book of Mormon, and that helped.
I mean, he's
push
actually
him
never
into
been
movies.
considered an A or B or C list actor.
No.
In film, but he does perform well on Broadway. He is terribly in History of the World Part 2.
Oh God, I heard that started. It's
Yeah, it
that
started
bad.
2 days ago. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. They're atrocious. What's even worse is that they are definitely Mel Brooks when he doesn't have his comrades in comedy to help him be funny.
And we've had this conversation before. I know, Script, that yeah, he usually needs somebody to work with. To help.
He's a better producer of comedy than he is a writer of comedy. I'll put it to you that way, because he is funny, but yeah, he shouldn't be leading it. They ruined the whole Hitler on Ice gag as well.
Was there any Jews in space?
No, not that I've seen yet. He did have an opening monologue where they deep faked him on top of a muscle guy, and they did it deliberately terrible as part of the joke, where he says he'd only do the sequel if there was no repeats, and then when they do Hitler on Ice, he actually interrupts. He says, "Hey, what the hell did I say about no repeats?" As a very poor attempt at doing a joke. But
to me, this kind of kills the whole end of the film, where basically the whole joke is we're not going to get a History of the World Part 2. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
That's
here's the other part too. There is not a legit comedic actor in this.
Well, I
mean,
saw
they're
most
all
of them
actors who are quote unquote comedians, but they're not good. They've never been the likes.
You know what it reminds me of,
the
Script?
other people they have in there. Yeah,
it reminds me just basically of Drunk History. It's a lot of those same kind of people that are involved. It feels like.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the gimmick's going to work without the drunk history aspect of it with these people. That's what I'm afraid of.
Well, here's the other part too. Even with some of the drunk history, some of the stories they told were actually rather endearing. So they weren't always trying to be funny. They actually tried to do some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's its own thing. It's its own gimmick. This is not the same thing. I get that. And that's why I'm not... The trailer didn't do anything to sell it for me. But let's see what you guys are saying out there in the chat. Tiger Valley 62 says, I've been a bit busy, but I want to share my condolences to the TMNT fandom getting blessed by the evil Rogan. Question, why are the turtles named after painters?
Renaissance book that Splinter found.
In the story, yes. But I'm not sure if there was ever anything more to it other than the Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird were just paying homage to our other artists, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
was the whole...
Yeah, pretty much. That's what they were doing. That's they just, they were artists themselves. I mean, I've never really heard them spouting upon that, but I'm not much of a... I haven't read much of those comics, but sure, something along those lines.
Well, Michelangelo is a stonecutter. Leonardo is based off of Da Vinci, who is an inventor and painter. Yeah. Raphael was a painter. And Donatello, I'm not too familiar with. But I think
he was a philosopher and painter.
Philosopher.
As well, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's the thing is, between that. And also, you got to remember, the original Turtles were come up with as a joke. They were a fucking joke. So,
Frank Miller, Daredevil.
Well, not just that, they were a parody of a few different aspects of comics at the time that were big.
Yes.
Teenage, but you had Teen Titans were big, right? Excuse me.
Yep. Yeah,
then you have mutants,
the mutant aspect.
Mutants, right? Teenage Mutant, then you got ninjas. Daredevil had kind of made those big at the point. And then Turtles, anthropomorphic or, animal comics.
Well, and it was kind of the whole humor in that is like, honestly, if you wanted a animal that would be considered like a ninja, the last thing you would think of is a turtle. Like that's part of the joke. Yeah, the slowest thing on earth. Yeah.
But it was like a parody. You heard that title and you had to laugh back then. You're like, what? That sounds like just some kind of parody book. And it was interesting because there was a lot more to that, obviously, to fans. But there were a lot of rip-off parodies at the time, such as, let's see, Geriatric Gangrene Jiu-Jitsu Gerbils.
Street Sharks.
Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Panthers. Hamsters.
Yep.
Biker Mice from Mars. Street Sharks, SWAT Cats, which I love.
Bobby, I think, is just talking about comic books, though. Like, even at the time when
I'm
the
just
first
talking about
one came
comics.
out. Yeah, like just in the comic realm, they had a bit of a splash.
4 or 5 of them.
I think the Biker Mice. I don't know. I know they'd start up. I know Biker Mice from Mars had comics later on. I think in the mid '90s. I never read them, but I remember Biker Mice ended up getting one. Yeah, there's a big fad of having animals be superheroes and be a team, man.
Well, the Ninja Turtles themselves are almost like I mean, I don't know what your religion is, what anybody believes in, but it was some kind of divine intervention, because you had a situation where Kevin Eastman happened to find, I can't remember which magazine it was that Peter Laird worked for at the time. Clobby might remember, but it was
worked with Black Vanaheim, I think. One of them did.
I can't remember what it was, but he found one of them laying on the floor of a subway, and he picked it up, and he was reading through it, and it was like, this is the kind of art I want to do. He was just a young kid, right? Laird is like 10, 15 years older than Kevin was. And he was reading in the back, and of course it had everybody's name who was one of the artists and all that kind of stuff in the offices and everything like that. So he went to the office, and I think Peter just happened to be there that day. And so they went out to lunch or something like that, and they just struck up a friendship. And, you know, he looked at some of his art, and they had a very similar art style. That was another thing that those two clicked with right away. So those two started working together. And one time, I can't remember where they were headed, but they were on a bus, and they didn't want to go. So one of them said, wouldn't it be funny if some bus kicking turtle just turned this bus the other way around? So they were laughing the whole way about this idea that a turtle would come out and kick the bus and flip it the other way around. So they were talking about that one night after a few too many beers and probably a few joints at Kevin's uncle's house, of all places, I believe it was. And it was a hot summer night, and they were just punchy as hell. And Kevin drew this turtle with a bandana and nunchucks strapped to its arms. And he threw it at Peter. Peter drew another one, I believe, with the bow staff, and actually called it a Ninja Turtle with that title over the top. And they just kept going back and forth until they had 4 of them, and they had worked out this whole fucking scenario of where these things came from, because of, like you said, Clobby, they were fans of Daredevil, so they pulled a lot of it. They're like, well, what if the canister of ooze that blinded Daredevil and gave him his enhanced senses fell down into the sewer and got onto these turtles and this rat and made them mutants? Like, those are, and instead of Stick, you had Splinter, and instead of the hand, you had the foot. So it was like, at first it was nothing but a fucking joke, but then they kind of realized, oh shit, we got something here, because they self-printed the first comic, which was just meant to be a one-off. They were never going to do another one after that. They borrowed a couple $1,000 from their uncle, printed it off, and they literally shipped it to, they took it to comic book shops and sold it through them directly. And next thing you know, in a couple of days, they started getting phone calls from all these comic book shops. Yeah. And they're like, do you have any more of those turtle magazines? They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're gone. They're done. That was it. They're like, oh no, we want more. Everybody wants more. So they sat down and realized, because at that time, because every time they were like, oh, if we do this, we can clear this much a month, and that covers our rent, that covers this, it covers that. So within a matter of a few months, they had like quadrupled the amount of money they had made on the first print of the first issue, and they were like 3 issues in, because each issue was subsequently selling like twice as much, then 3 times as much, then 4 times as much. So it was just this insane growing thing over the years, and then eventually the licensing came into play, and that's when it took off. But I wish I knew the answer. Other than that, sorry.
Could not be said better. You did great, Tom. You know your turtles, and it really it kind of set off the black and white glut of the mid '80s, and there were so many ripoffs. There was, there's still boxes of black and white sludge, and I like black and white comics when they're good.
Well, of course, Eastman and Laird took a lot of inspiration from like Alan Moore. They took inspiration from Miller. They took inspiration from
big time.
All those guys.
Dave Sims Cerebus was also a big influence.
Sims, yep. They're actually pretty good friends with him, I guess.
Dave Sim really helped them promote a lot early on.
Yeah, and they were also good friends with the guy who made Usagi and Jimbo.
Stan Saki, I believe.
So Yosaki actually became part of the
whatever his name was. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh, they were big. They were huge. Like I said, and it was were there a lot of crazy comics coming out because of it too. I mean, all those black.
Well, because none of them really got it.
No, but they wanted to be the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They wanted to be the next Cerebus, Well, Cerebus, that was
Cerebus was a big inspiration on them. Like I said,
big time. Dave Sim was a wacky dude.
Because actually, they started out with Fugitoid, and they couldn't get that off the ground.
Yes,
I remember Fugitoid.
Mirage Studios.
And they called it Mirage because there was no studio.
Yep, that's exactly right.
That's true.
And they even advertised it in a magazine called Gobbledygook or something.
So
maybe that was the magazine that Kevin. I can't remember now. I'd have to go back and look.
They did have an ad for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a Gobbledygook bag.
It was this. All I know, it was this indie underground comic book that Peter had worked for. And Kevin found it on the floor of a Subway, and he picked it up and read it, and he fell in love with it to the point where, he went to the offices, and that's where he met Peter.
Right. So, undergrounds were huge back then, so I don't know which it was, but
I'm surprised somebody in the chat doesn't know what it is, but I can't remember what it was now. I mean,
I
I have
got
a
a
bunch
bit
of
of-
like the Flaming Carrot ones. I know that wasn't it, but I know they
Oh,
started
Bob Burden,
there too.
yeah.
Yeah.
They started, but that's Howard Vanaheim. But
There's
they
a lot of Ninja Turtle stories in there.
Oh yeah. But I gotta admit, I've never really studied up on them too much because I didn't read a lot of the TV, but I had a lot of friends that liked it. And of course, that title was catchy. As soon as you heard about it, you couldn't help but laugh. Like, man, those are the four biggest things in comics: teenagers, mutants, ninjas, and turtle, and are animals.
Their story is weird because it almost kind of is like Siegel and Schuster's in a way. You know, two younger guys who just were struggling in comics
Yep.
and created this huge success.
Except
The
they got
difference
paid.
is they actually got paid. Yeah,
That's a huge difference.
They got
Because
to own
spent
their
it
stuff.
all, but
Eastman and Laird are actually able to get final say on a lot of their things until the late 90s, I think it was. Up
they
until
still
when they
have
started Polaroid.
some.
They to
Here's
an
the thing.
extent,
Controlling
but at
interest in
the
it, but-
time they
Well,
they had
they
most of their
learned-
final say.
They learned from
Yeah.
Siegel and Schuster and
Yep.
Yeah.
Kirby and Lee's mistakes because Kirby and Lee had an opportunity to do the Fantastic Four and self-publish, but they didn't. And if they did, they
At
would
that
not have
time,
had-
it wouldn't have happened. Not back then.
it would have been obscenely difficult for them to do it at that time.
And Lee would have had actually be able to write something, and he never.
But even when they sold the rights to
can't.
Nickelodeon, they still retain, like, Peter can make like I think up to 11 or 12 books a year without having to ask them for any permission. Kevin is still involved with a lot of the everyday shit actually in the offices as far as Ninja Turtles. So I blame him for a lot of the stupid shit.
Mm.
Yep.
But I would still
Sorry,
talk to
Turtle
him and
fan.
gush over him. Don't get me wrong, but like, I mean, this is one of those things that just kind of got away from him. You know,
Yeah.
It was kind of this little idea that became something that was way beyond them. So
Which one was married to Julie Strain? Was it Kevin? or
that would have been Kevin. Yeah.
Yep.
And he went and spent most of his Ninja Turtle money on buying heavy metal and stuff. And that's why
And
he's
that
kind
we all saw how that worked out.
he eventually ended up working for Peter, which is weird. Like it was kind of because he sold his interest to Peter early on. That was a thing. And then
They
so
had
when
a
the sale
falling
actually
out.
happened, Peter ended up getting the better part of the deal. But yeah. But he was the smarter businessman of the two.
Peter and him had a falling out. They didn't talk for like what 15 to 20 years.
Yeah,
and
at
then they got
least.
back in touch because then before you know it,
Yeah.
Eastman actually started writing the comic book again, which obviously was for IDW. Went on to go 100 issues. Was actually I didn't finish all, and I intend to, but for what I got done, it was actually good. It was actually really fun. Really like lots of action. Believe me, lots of action. But I've never.
First of all,
What's up?
Darth, I didn't call Michelangelo a stonebreaker, but someone else did, but I didn't. But I don't know who you're going after.
No,
that was
Michelangelo, the artist, is a stonecutter who was then compelled
said
by
stonecutter,
Vatican to
yeah.
be a fresco painter for the Sistine Chapel.
But it wasn't me. I wasn't even talking
No, it
about
wasn't
him.
you.
Yeah,
I
no,
told
it
him
was-
that, but someone in the chat is clearly not paying attention.
Yeah, no.
Yes. No, he's always
No,
had it.
he was a sculptor before.
No, he was a
Yeah.
stonecutter.
Or stonecutter? Was that
Yes,
it?
he cut things in marble, and a sculptor usually sculpts with
Oh.
clay.
Okay. See, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And he didn't like to paint fresco, but the Pope at the time wanted him to, and
Yeah,
they
they
kept.
forced
He
him to
actually
do the
ran
Sistine
away from
Chapel, that I
Vatican
knew.
multiple times when they were in the midst of painting the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, I remember that because he painted. Yeah, he didn't want to do that. That I remember. There you go.
For once, I'm innocent.
For once, you're innocent.
Uh,
And Tiger Valley definitely got her money's worth there. There. Well, I don't know if it's a he or she. I'm sorry. Stephanie Janishek is here and says they're removing Kennedy's projects. Well, all except for the Acolyte at this point. Yeah, like that's.
They better.
And to be
remove that
honest,
too.
you want to know what? I blame Chapek for that. He's the one that brought her ass back over when she was over there distracted with the stupid blood and bone shit. And when he brought her back over, that's where this thing came into play. So that's one of the few things I will blame on Chapek.
Yep, because he was thinking like an accountant instead of thinking.
so you're
like
saying that's going to happen then?
Oh yeah, it's already in the can.
Ooh. Oops.
Yeah, this is one of their next things coming is the Acolyte. I think that's supposed to premiere. Is it later this year?
Well,
Script, or
Stephanie
next year?
says it's over.
How can it be over? They've been shooting it for the last 2 months.
Yeah, it's been
I
shooting.
don't know.
That'll be the
I know
next
nothing-
Kenobi, the next Last Jedi.
We've got the
Ooh.
Acolyte coming out. We've got Ahsoka coming out sometime this year, supposedly.
I was gonna say, I think the Acolyte comes out before Ahsoka, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I don't know.
That I don't know. I could be wrong, but I know both of them are already shot. According to her, it's not. I know it's shooting though. That's the thing. Robert Williams is here and says Mexican Iron Man is the great name, but it uses Marvel's IP in it and can cause issues making stuff. May I volunteer the name Iron Poncho?
Oh,
I love
I kind
that.
of like that.
Oh my God, I like that. Oh, that's
Actually,
good.
better yet, how about the Steel Poncho?
No, I like Iron Poncho. That's
But
pretty.
we need
good.
something different than Iron. Iron, is still
Iron
too...
Poncho.
I like that.
What about Iron Sombrero? All right, I tried. I was just entertaining an idea. It'd be cool on your action figure.
There's potential here, Robert, but we got to find something other than iron. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong. Let's see here. What else we got here? We have Mecha J, who says Ryan Johnson, don't worry about my trilogy. Don't worry, my trilogy is happening. Proceeds to smell his own farts. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yeah. Zephyr's in the house. How you doing, Zephyr? It says, I was going to see the D&D movie despite everything, then heard it was about emasculating leading men, and I think I shall have to pass. Rip. You know what I loved about that even more so, Zephyr? Was, I can't remember who said it, but their excuse was that, well, we didn't do it just because of woke reasons. We did it because we thought it was funny. It could have even been Chris who said this. It's like, oh, that's original. And the first thing I did, I said that with a meme from Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, if you get the joke there, it's like, yeah, it's not the first time they demasculized the leading man for a joke. They've already done it way back when. It's here we go. The platinum poncho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's
Thank
a
you,
trope,
Grimlock.
but not even a good trope.
I just realized what Ryan Johnson's been talking about all this time about his trilogy. He might actually get his trilogy. I think it's going to happen. His Knives Out trilogy.
Yeah, that's happening. That is happening.
In
fact,
so he's getting his trilogy. There you go.
Has he started shooting the third one yet? I don't think so, but
he's
it's definitely in the tube. Yeah, no, he's got a deal.
Right? So there's a chance there'll be another one. That's the only trilogy he's ever going to get. So I'm saying, but maybe that's what he means when he says that.
So you're saying there's still a chance?
There's still a
chance.
It'll be a trilogy, right? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't know if anybody read this entire interview or whatever it was from, but yeah, the emasculating leading men thing did not help sell the movie for me.
In a way, we should be kind of thankful for them letting us know. So it's just like, okay, good. Now he's money saved, but time is saved.
I knew this wasn't going to be any better than the one from the. Yeah, that's a sad thing. Didn't I say that on the morning show script? I was like, this is going to make the one from the early 2000s look good.
What one? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble.
The D&D, sorry.
Oh, the D&D one?
Yeah.
It's a doomed story when they're coming at it from this approach. I mean, it's way too contemporary. You got hits from the 80s and 90s and 70s peppered throughout the trailer. They have nothing. They literally have nothing of their own to market this on.
They're just lucky they got Chris Pine. Jason Milton says, since Kathleen Kennedy is possibly leaving after Indy 5 script, do you think Iger will make Favreau the head of Lucas? And do you think Feige's time is done at Marvel soon?
No. And if you know anything about John Favreau, he's not taking those types of positions.
Nope.
Ever. It's never going to happen. No matter how much.
No, in fact, I think he was offered.
If
I remember right from our reporting, wasn't he actually offered DC and he turned it down too? Script, if I remember right.
In the early days, yeah.
Or even
he
recently.
Does not want.
No, I'm talking about with.
He does not. Or they went to James Gunn.
Yeah, because Zaslav was trying everybody.
Being a studio head is a very different job description than what he likes to do and wants to do.
Yes, talent does not like to take management jobs. It's a
My
simple fact.
fear is that Filoni will get that role before anybody else, but it won't be
I
O'Ban.
think it's more likely than Favreau by a long shot.
Yeah,
and he
I
definitely
don't think
knows
it's gonna
how
be
to
a
how to
man.
sauce people.
Yeah,
you know?
he's a corporate ass kissing beta ass bitch. He's perfect for
And he's
Disney.
been all over
Yeah.
everything lately, if you haven't noticed. So it makes me wonder.
Filoni is perfect for that kind of job because he's a beta ass kissing bitch.
Yep.
Well, I mean, on the concept of the fact that he's not talented, yes, he'd be perfect for a management job, but he's also very irresponsible, arrogant, and self-serving.
Yes.
So he's never going to actually put the franchise ahead of, and the franchise and the marketability ahead of his own personal ideals.
I didn't say it was a good idea. I just said that that's more likely.
It's
than
definitely
Favreau.
He's a self-described Sith, for whatever that's worth.
This is the idiot who just said that Luke is not a Jedi and had to get corrected by Favreau.
He also has the same smile of Rian Johnson. If you take a look at the two of them, when they make a smile, it's the exact same beady little teeth.
Yes.
With regards to Feige at Marvel, Feige's going to leave when he wants to leave. He's got that much power.
That's true.
Just
Yeah,
like
Even
Jenkins.
if he does leave, it'll be Victoria Alonso who will replace him should he
Pretty much.
decide to leave, and that will be just as bad, if not worse. So, yeah, nothing to gain both ways.
No, Script's right. Favreau is like he would have to really, really screw up even more yet.
The only way Favreau will do it is if he decides I'm retiring from directing and writing, but I still want to be associated with a franchise.
Yeah, as far as that goes. But Feige, he'll leave when he's good and ready.
Yeah.
He'll probably do something else before he leaves. And then we got a very, very generous super chat from Joshua N. It says, off topic, thank you guys for helping me through these really, really hard through a really, really hard period. Sorry. Leaving you streaming when I've gone to sleep through a lot of sadness and difficulties has made me feel like there's a sense of friends out there. Cheers lads from West Yorkshire. God, I can't read today. Wow, Joshua. I can't imagine what you're going through. And I'm really sorry to hear that, but I'm glad to hear that we were able to help you out through this, man. And yeah. Wow, this is so generous of you. You did
That right there, comments like that make YouTubing a viable, amazing thing. So in terms of social media, thank you, brother. Thank you. Shout out from over the pond.
Thank you.
And whatever it is you're going through, man,
Cheers.
yeah, like we all are going through stuff every day, different things, different ways. But yeah, you're right. Like these guys here on the stream, you guys out there listening, other fellow YouTubers I have and friends in this community. Oh yeah, you guys keep me going a lot more than you guys think. I mean, I even have days where I don't want to get out of bed sometimes, but it's guys like you that help. So it's reciprocal, very reciprocal. And I can't thank you enough for listening.
Glad to hear that, Joshua.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, buddy.
Listening.
Absolutely. And hopefully
Cheers.
things get
Cheers,
better for you,
Josh.
brother.
Yep.
Kenneth Dowling's in the house. Says, hello, gentlemen. Hope you have been well. Well, hope you have too. Watch the new TMNT trailer. Awful. God awful. Not seeing this. Script doctor, I have to correct you. Daredevil always has super senses pieces. So I think one time
is he talking about the time when they tried to make Daredevil more ninja than having the radioactive echolocation senses?
I know you were talking about this the other day, and maybe that's what he was referring to.
Because there was a period, I'm pretty sure of it. I mean, I remember reading some of the comments. I even think Razor Fist did a video on that or not so much a video, but had an interview on that where Daredevil was more ninja, and all of the senses he learned with regards to being a ninja allowed him to generate the images so that he could essentially see, but it wasn't echolocation in the same way.
Like a radar?
Yeah, like they did stuff where it's not really a radar. It's just a combination of sound, touch, and smell, and all that, and everything else to create the image that that he would see or process as seeing.
So basically, they're kind of rewriting how his powers work.
Yeah, from the get-go, he used to have all the basic. They called it "quote unquote" radar sense, and of course, the artist would draw it that way. But he had all the heightened senses, from the beginning. So
yeah, from the beginning. But I remember, I think it was.
Now then, the ninja stuff comes along. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It had to have been in like the late '80s, early '90s, where they had a period of it. Because I remember, reading one book where it had like a multiple of the same panel, and it was talking about him samurai training, if I'm recalling correctly. And it was really silly. But it started with a blurry image at first,
Right.
and then the next panel is slightly sharper because they added in one extra sense, and then another image is a more sharper version. It's another sense that he's using to help shaping it up, and then it goes forward and forward until you get like a perfectly normal picture that you and I would normally see. I remember that distinctly.
Yeah, well, artists like to play around with the visual components of it. I've always thought it was fairly consistent with it. And, but remember, the first 16
result was always the same. Is the fact that he could. The result was always the same. The fact that he could act as if he could see, or behave as if he could see. Yeah.
Right. Well, the first 16 years of his existence, he wasn't a ninja. That was Miller.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that had to be early '80s because that's where the guys from Ninja Turtles took inspiration from. So yeah.
Yeah, it was Miller. Once he started writing the book, he
either late 70s
he made
or early
ninjas
80s.
big. It was 80. The precise year would be like 80 or 81, right there with issue number.
That makes
the
sense.
First one he did was Daredevil 157, but then he started writing it at 181 or something. When he started writing it, that's when the ninja stuff started.
Right. He was penciling first, right? He was penciling Daredevil in 157.
And Roger McKenzie was writing it for a good while. Then later, he started co-playing and eventually booming. I think it was maybe like 168 or something when he started writing it. I can't remember, somewhere up in there. But yeah, at first he was just a penciler. Yeah. And people were like, it was bi-monthly. It was about to get canceled. And
it was
people liked the art.
I knew it had to be at least early 80s because Ninja Turtles was 84. So speaking of, John Apocalypse says the new TMNT will suck and bomb and will be forgotten. I hope it does bomb.
Oh yeah.
We'll see.
Guaranteed.
Captain Fandom Nerd says at Mexican Iron Man as Maximum Platinum Poncho Elf. Well, I think it was good up until the elf part. I think he's fine with that.
I mean, maybe the platinum poncho might be a little inappropriate because then you do the abbreviation to initials and it's Mexican PP.
So that's awful.
That's awesome because Mike is always messing around with his Mexican PP. That's why he's in trouble.
Tom, I find your comment offensive. That hurt my AI feelings on my chip motherboard.
Yeah, well, your motherboard. Mecha J, and I say that to the motherboard, not Mamacita. Mamacita is awesome. Mecha J says, and hello to her. Filoni also directly thanked Ryan, saying he learned a lot under him. When Ryan directed The Last Jedi, this is the guy who will take over if KK leaves. You know, it doesn't surprise me because script is right. There's something in the way these guys speak, smile, act, react. They're all the same. You could throw Pablo Hidalgo probably in that group too.
I've never heard any. I've only read stuff that Pablo.
Yeah, I've never actually.
I've never heard his voice or seen his image, and I don't want to.
Oh, I've seen his image. He's a little soy cuck, but no, I'm willing to bet. I think you're right. Sean Carter says Mexican Iron Man, the Zarapi of Justice. Watch out for the Chancla of Truth. Did I say that right?
Yeah, the serape would be, you know what a serape is. He misspelled it, but it's, And then chancla would be my iron sandal.
You have a sandal of iron?
No, it's made out of leather. A chancla is like a leather sandal.
Yeah, the ones that moms throw at kids.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. That's your weapon of choice?
No, but that's what Sean Carter thinks it should be. Good God, no.
That's Mama Iron Man's weapons of choice, though.
Yep, for many years as I was growing up.
Well, speaking of Daredevil, because we've been talking a lot about Daredevil here, and it's kind of a perfect segue from Ninja Turtles into Daredevil and so on.
Yup.
Born Again is coming, and we've got official news now that John Bernthal is returning as the Punisher for Daredevil Born Again.
Why?
But the rest of the cast isn't so far outside of Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, as we reported.
That proves this is going to have nothing to do with Born Again because he's not even in Born Again, in which they've already used some elements of that for season 3.
It was always going to be a name only, Clobby, and you know that.
Yeah, of course.
Born Again is a Disney PG film, possibly G-rated.
Well, and that's because Kevin Feige wants to put his stamp on Daredevil. We knew this from the start, even though Chapek went out of his way and bought the Netflix series, meaning they could do whatever the hell they want. They can make it a continuation of that if they wanted to. Kevin don't want to. He's made that pretty fucking clear.
Oh, God.
Which I'm surprised Bernthal is signed back on because we knew he was resistant.
The kinder, gentler Punisher.
Disney's not capable of Daredevil or Deadpool.
He's going to give.
They've never done anything like it. They can't.
John Bernthal is returning to his most punishing role. The actor will reprise Frank Castle, aka anti-hero the Punisher, in Marvel Studios' Daredevil Born Again for Disney Plus. Sources tell Hollywood Reporter. Bernthal joins Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio in the series, which begins shooting in New York this month. So they haven't even started shooting this yet. In a departure from other Marvel series, which comes at 6 or 9 episodes per season, Born Again is planned as a whopping 18-episode epic. Writers, executives, producers Matt Carmen and Chris Ord are behind the show, which is expected to bow in the spring of 2024. Tell us about Matt Corman and Chris Ord. Anything to know about them, Script?
Their names are familiar.
I say Chris Ord sticks out to me big time.
It's not ringing any bells right now. I'll have to.
He has worked on.
Matt
Chris has worked on Covert Affairs, Deck the Halls, The Enemy Within, and The Brave. As executive producer. As a writer, he has just worked on this and 5 Against a Bullet. Oh, and he did write on The Enemy Within, The Brave, Containment,
Deck the Halls.
Covert Affairs, Deck the Halls, and Extreme Dinosaurs.
Yeah, those are not good.
Glowing.
Anything.
And then the other guy was Matt. What was it?
Oh, sorry, Matthew Corman. No, they're writing partners. They have the exact same credits.
I was just gonna say, yep, that's what it looks like. You are correct, sir.
That's not encouraging.
No. So anyhow, Marvel couldn't be reached for comment, but Born Again takes its title from the landmark Daredevil storyline published in 1986, written by Frank Miller and drawn by Dave Mazzucchelli.
Mazzucchelli, yeah.
Masterpiece. Boy, that was fun. We had fun with that one, didn't we, Nick?
Oh, what a blast. Talk about that story.
Yeah.
The show is deviating from that plot, although by how much is unclear. The Punisher, for example, made no appearance in the crime story. Daredevil versus Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, remains the focal point. And then
it's going to be in name only. They already had Daredevil season 3.
A lot of this is shit we already know. So,
yeah, if anything, it's a nod to Daredevil being born again under a different storyline. That's all it's a nod to. They're taking the Born Again name because, one, it's name recognition, obviously. And so it's a perfect segue for them to use it. Well, now he's born under the MCU and not the Netflix universe.
Okay, so here we've got, here's the bit I was talking about. However, other actors from Netflix Daredevil series are not expected to return. Deborah Ann Wall and Eldon Henson, who played classic supporting characters Karen Page and Foggy Nelson. Jeez. Which is funny that Eldon isn't coming back because he was recently, I believe, on the Mighty Ducks series. So he's already got relationships with Disney.
So will there be no Foggy or just recast?
Oh, it'll probably be a different character. It'll probably be Matt has had many girlfriends, so they'll probably just pick up one of his other many girlfriends and use it. Or they might even just go straight to Elektra. I don't think they're gonna recast him, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I truly don't.
Probably Elektra. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Well, then that'd be recasting Elektra. But I was under the impression, and this was through rumors, that Born Again was going to take place in California, and Foggy would only be running the firm in New York.
Oh, good Lord.
So they wouldn't actually need him.
They do kind of say that they don't know if they're just not in the series or what. So that's a plausibility. Script is right. So let's not jump to too many conclusions there. But at the same time, they do remind us of what Bernthal had said back in 2021. He goes, I think if there's any let up on the character, talking about the darkness of it, you do a disservice to the character, to every iteration of the character, to every comic book that's come before, and to all the believable fans of the character. This character means so much to people in the military. So like I said before, it's not about whether you do the character, it's about whether you can do it right. And I'm only interested in doing it right. So who knows what they came up with for him? So
yeah, I'm sorry, John. Your motives are definitely noble and admirable, but you're not gonna get a chance. No, not to do that character. I don't even like the Punisher, and he was great as the Punisher in those. What little he got to play him in those, Netflix things. And you're not going to get much of a shot for it to be done right at Disney. Not the Punisher. No. So, just an opinion.
Yep. So there you go. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I'm sure Andre will have a thing or two to say about it tomorrow.
I mean, Disney's wheelhouse before all of this was the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody in Hannah Montana. It was always going to be a really steep curve.
Punisher would fit right in with Hannah Montana, CC.
If you turn it into something completely whack, yeah, maybe be like enjoying something really,
I would
really
love
awful.
to see the Punisher blow the head off of a Billy Ray Cyrus, wouldn't you?
No,
yeah, okay. Punisher blowing Hannah Montana would be interesting.
He's not going to shoot people. He's going to talk very stern. He's not going to shoot people. He's going to talk very sternly to them and say, "Don't you do that anymore."
No, if Punisher were to walk into Disney Studios, he would be killing mostly everybody there for the horrible damage that they've done to stars like Lindsay Lohan and Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, and all those other kids, Zach and Cody, and them. They're traumatized. Selena Gomez has barely got out unscathed, in my opinion. So, yeah,
I think we should send the Punisher to the southern border to solve that crisis.
Speaking of Disney's bullshit,
oh no,
yeah. This is the new Little Mermaid doll, kids, with real hair.
All right.
And notice the shells are gone.
Sorry, but
she now has scales.
Dark skin is supposed to help you in a really, really sunny environment. There's not a whole lot of sun deep in the ocean.
You would know this being in Canada, I think. But
well, yeah, that too, right?
And like, probably one of the whitest white dudes I know.
Is there a backstory to this, or like?
No, this is just the new Little Mermaid doll. There's no backstory. I found it interesting that the shells are gone and now she has scales.
So wait, is she now naked?
I don't know.
It comes off. I mean, that's something.
Like, are the scales a part of her, or did she like mutilate a fellow mermaid and then is wearing them as a top?
Strip. These are good questions, and yes, they're very viable questions too, because clearly that bottom part of her is a part of her.
I know what that is. That's body paint.
Oh no, that's 3D.
Did she kill Flounder and is now wearing him?
No, but he looks weird. Lord, I wonder if this movie's gonna get pushed back. They're gonna redo a bunch of shit. I doubt it, but let's see what the guys in the audience are saying. Let's see what you got to. I got a couple more stories.
I always thought that the seashell bra was stupid because women don't need support underwater. The water's already doing it for them.
It's buoyant. C-Man says, "How long until Feige puts some Rick and Morty writers on TikTok?"
They might be part of the writers' room eventually. Well, that's
yeah, you're right. They might already be. We joke about it, but they may already be.
Yeah.
Kenneth Dowling sends in another 10. Thank you so much. Says Daredevil did have radar sense, which was his sense combined with training by stick, but his sense alone were superhuman like Wolverine. Anyway, I think he's a bit overrated. Spider-Man is cooler. Yeah, I don't know the different iterations too much. I just know that he had,
stick training's retcon.
Yeah, stick training's retcon. Mark Waid didn't do good with him, in my opinion. But there's a whole bunch of mess there. I don't know if Spider-Man's power set is cooler, but Spider-Man's really immature compared to Daredevil. I like Matt Murdock a bit more as a.
I might love Spidey a little bit more, but Daredevil's right in my top, so close to Spidey that I love them both. Sorry, but they're very.
I can relate a little bit more to Murdock though, as the self-loathing Catholic, right? Like.
But I even love pre-Miller Daredevil.
Parrothead says, "You folks at Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge and After Dark make industry talk fun." Well, we try, Parrothead, and you make me laugh with all your various
absolutely
memes and images you put in the DMs and on the Twitters.
Oh yeah,
Parrothead wasted away in Margaritaville.
Yes, he is. Mecha J says, "Say what you want about Rise of Team NT show, but at least when they race swapped April, her design was at least appealing. But why race swap her at all? Why? It is so fucking cliche now.
It's so obvious. There's that photo that's going around that shows you all the redheads that have been race swapped. I count at least like 20 something in there. I'm like, you can't tell me that at this point it's no longer about the best actor or actress. It's clear that meritocracy is not taking place in one bit. Maybe you can make an argument in like 2003 for Michael Clark Duncan, or even for what's his face when he was Harvey Dent and 89 Batman, maybe because it was so few far between. But now it just happens so often, It just feels like they're doing it because they say, well, we have to have this because of my diversity.
Well, and I agree on just making her look appealing part, because like this is Liz O'Neill. This is not April. Right? Fuck this. I don't know what the hell this
Wonderful.
That entire thing looks to me like B-rated artists are trying way too hard to get their big break and trying really hard to be cool. And it's like everything I ever imagined Seth Rogen would be in the worst way.
He didn't ruin Invincible for some reason. They did that okay on that one. It was brutal, but no. Other than that, he's a destroyer.
There you go. I Rise of TMNT though is part of the problem here. You're not Mecha J. You're never gonna get me on board with that crap. Sorry. no way am I gonna give it any inch whatsoever.
Is that a recent one or something? Or what?
Yeah, that's the one they killed the 2012 series for or whatever.
No.
Yeah, they just up and decided we're gonna kill this popular series and make this other series that's obnoxious as hell. And then they wondered why the franchise has gone completely off a cliff.
Yeah.
But anyway, Waltman says, do you know of the man Sir Adrian Carton de Weert? Art? No, I don't, clearly. Just read the first paragraph on his wiki page since the man had plot armor. Plot armor, huh? Sir Adrian Carton de Weert? If I can...
You know the man's... No, I don't.
Okay.
Never met the gentleman.
Says Lieutenant General Sir Adrian Paul Gislin Carton de Weert, however you say that, Weert, is officer of Belgian and Irish parents. He was awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest military decoration awarded for valor in the face of the enemy in various Commonwealth countries. He served in the Boer War, First World War, and Second World War. He was shot in the fucking face.
Wow.
Stomach, ankle, leg, hip, and ear, was blinded in his left eye, survived 2 plane crashes, tunneled out of prisoner war camp, and tore off his own fingers when the doctor declined to amputate them. Describing his first experiences in the First World War, he wrote, "Frankly, I had enjoyed the war."
Sounds like he has a sense of humor, too.
Life apart of the party right there.
Wow. In his memoirs, they wrote, governments may think and say as they like, but force cannot be eliminated. And it is the only real and unanswerable power. We are told that the pen is mightier than the sword, but I know which of these these weapons I would choose. Carton de Weert was thought to be a model for the character of Brigadier Ben Ritchie Hook in Evelyn Waugh's trilogy Sword of Honor. And they describe him in the Oxford Dictionary as, with his black eye patch and empty sleeve, Carton de Weert looked like an elegant pirate and became a figure in legend. All right. There you go. Wow. There's a lot more on this individual.
Man, they should make a show about him.
Yeah.
I mean, and not
like a Taylor Sheridan show.
Yeah, and then it would make it woke, and then it would be.
Dude amputated his own fingers. That's badass.
Wow.
Right.
That's more than Ronnie Lott.
I ain't got time for this shit, Doc. Just
like Ronnie Lott did in that football game.
Shit. Well, thank you all, man, for that. Brett Cohen says Hannah getting humped in Montana, a Disney original story from all our employees on what? Yeah, let's not go there.
Wow.
Waddle D's Nuts says, evening gents, random question. You don't think Disney will undermine Guardians 3 away from James Gunn because he's with DC now, would they?
No.
That only hurt Disney.
They need the money.
You mean like screw with it somehow? I mean, that's already done.
I don't think so.
I think he meant as a way as like hyping it up, promoting, talking about it. No, they're going to want the money for this, especially after the fallout of Quantumania. Now, if Quantumania had done gangbusters, maybe a different conversation, but I think they're really going to try to really ramp up the press and promo for Volume 3, not just because it's the third and final Guardians movie and James Gunn's last one, but because they need to try to do their best to recover from Quantumania. And also, this was the movie that's also before the Marvel, so they need this one to be the one to balance out whatever losses they take from both those movies.
Yeah, Nick's 100% right. They need this movie to succeed in order to benefit the following stuff. no company worth their salt would ever give a two craps about the fact that they lost a talent to another studio when they've already got one of their hit movies pretty much ready to debut. They're only going to hurt themselves if they try to undermine or do anything to make Guardians 3 a failure. It doesn't make sense. Studios are fickle in a lot of ways, but they're not that stupid.
Plus, Kevin's already got the job.
Yeah. It's not like Warner Brothers is going to fire him that Guardians 3 failed. But like, okay, so you phoned it on Guardians 3 because we already hired you for Suicide Squad. Big deal.
Yeah, no. And I don't think even Iger would be dumb enough to send it into any kind of reshoots like he did with Ant-Man.
I think James Gunn has enough pull still over there to say no.
You're right. I mean, if there was any trouble with this movie, we'd have heard about it. Mm-hmm. And I haven't heard shit.
And all the trouble we heard of was after he got fired from Disney by Alan Horn.
Well, that's, different, unrelated. I'm talking about the movie proper.
Oh, yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like the thing's been done. If there was going to be any tinkering with it by now, I think they'd been, because the movie comes out in what, 2 months? Not even?
2 months. First Friday of the month of May.
I was gonna say May it comes out, so so exactly 2 months. So Grimlock Destroyer says Mexican Iron Man, aka or Armor Man, sorry, aka Man.
I like that. I can imagine a logo and T-shirts in a merch store.
There you go.
There you go.
All the ladies will get a little sexy,
even if they don't want it.
I'll get a little sexy, cutie little tank tops for the ladies, and it says, "This is my man," and it has a picture of me.
Oh, Mikey, we love you. And we're caught up on the super chat. So with that, let me double check and see if there's any member chats I missed. I always do that. That's my fault. But StreamYards does not help. But no, it looks like the mod squad has been quiet. Oh, nope, we got a couple here. I'm sorry. Takes a minute sometimes for Twitter to update. Marks 47 has been here for 22 months. Thank you so much. And Zephyr has been here for 16. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate the support. So with that, I got this story that I come across. We get asked often what kind of shape theaters are in, right, guys? Like, probably one of the more prominent, not one of the questions we get the most, but it's a pretty prominent question we get quite often.
I'm fascinated by theater status.
What kind of shape are they in? You're a big theater goer, Mike.
Yep.
Well, it turns out the theater chains are doing so well that they want more movies. There's not enough movies, evidently.
This is the comics are booming equivalent argument. Just say that it's doing well, even though it's not, because they don't want to admit that they're wrong to the people who are looking at the context and the numbers and the actual facts. They just know that a lot of normies will just take their word for it because they're under the company that's considered they are the ones who are popular and they seem to be the more legitimate names, so we have to believe them. And a lot of those people will follow suit just because they said it.
I think I get what you're saying, Nick, but I'm not so sure this is the same as the comic book situation. What I see here
it's not completely the same. It's similar but different.
What I see here is you have some movies where when they come out, people want to see them.
Yes.
People do want to go see movies, but what they don't want is shit like Black Panther. They don't want shit like Ant-Man. They're going to see movies like Cocaine Bear. They're going to see movies like Creed 3. Even though I wouldn't say Creed 3 is a huge success. I know they're really painting it as one. It's not, kids.
We'll see what happens this weekend.
Two. Exactly. It's doing as well as the last two. We'll give it that. But what theaters are saying is they want more movies. And they want some streaming titles too. That's probably another thing. After disappointing late summer and fall, major movie theater chains pinned hopes on the run of tentpoles that could help prop up the box office and their bottom lines, from Black Adam to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Avatar: Way of the Water. But one by one, in reporting fourth quarter earnings in February and early March, the top chains all posted revenue that fell short of the even comparable quarter in 2021, when we were coming out of the pandemic. When the industry was in the thick of the pandemic, actually, as it says here, but I would say we're coming out of it. While the impact of The Way of the Water, the $2.2 billion grosser that opened December 16th, won't be fully felt until exhibitors report first quarter results in the spring, the fourth quarter numbers aren't encouraging. That's especially so when studio executives from Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav to Paramount Global Chief Bob Bakish have touted the important flywheel effect of launching their tentpoles in theaters instead of sending them directly to streaming services to pump up subscriber numbers. If the theatrical ecosystem can't fully recover, then it won't be much of a launch pad for ancillary markets either. The good news is domestic box office revenue this year is up more than 37%. The bad is it's down 22% from 2019. In what's shaping up to be a make or break year for exhibitors with steep debt loads, the challenges facing the industry include wage and inflationary pressures on the expense side, and Netflix and streaming revolution still pushing movies straight to video on demand. Listening to the chatter around the recent analyst earnings calls with company chiefs over peak pessimism as their theaters have reopened. It's easy to see the industry's fortunes are tied to Hollywood's film supply and multiplex picking up. AMC Theaters, which operates 950 theaters globally, saw attendance hit 49.5 million, down from 60 million during the earlier period, as its quarterly loss increased to 287 million, up from 134 million in 2021. On an earnings call on February 28th, CEO Adam Aron told analysts after unveiling a sharp fall in attendance that he didn't see a full box office recovery before 2024 or 25 at the earliest, although he bullishly predicted a 75% increase in the number of major movie titles grossing 100 million or more compared to last year. In 2022, the number of features hitting the 100 million mark globally was about 40. Aaron also noted that the number 2 chain by theater count, Regal, owner Cineworld, is now in bankruptcy court, as if to say, see, things could be much worse. Also, the brighter side for AMC Theaters, as analyst Eric Handler noted in a post-earnings take, AMC produced in fourth quarter 22 would be believed is an industry high $19.98 average per patron at its U.S. theaters, above rival Cinemark's $17.43. Speaking of Cinemark, the number 3 chain that operates nearly 520 theaters domestically and in Latin America saw 39 million patrons buy tickets in the fourth quarter, down from 48 million customers a year before, leading to a loss of 98.8 million compared with a year ago profit of 6.4 million. CEO Sean Gamble on February 24th call with analysts pointed that multiple times the studio release volume as a factor in the decline, noting that optimistically that he expects 100 to 105 theatrical releases in 2023. That's down from the pre-planned pandemic level of 130 per in terms of all films, but still up from the past 2 years. So, okay, Mike, you're going to have to walk me through some of the money shit about this, but here's the bottom line. They don't have the movies, right? This is another reason why we've been seeing a lot of re-releases of older films, why theaters, especially during the pandemic, were filling the, screens with stuff that, was a bunch of anniversaries and all that kind of stuff. They don't have any movies to show right now, but we're starting to get back to normal. But what do you hear from all this money talk that they're saying here?
I think as a very frequent moviegoer who goes to theaters in different parts of the country on any given week, I think we've got 2 problems that I see over and over again. Number one is that when some of these releases come out, the percentage of theaters that the percentage of screens that they occupy within a theater building is sometimes too high for the market demand. I have multiple times, even though I didn't go see Ant-Man, and I went and saw Cocaine Bear instead that week after it debuted, I walked around the theater and there were 4. I was in the 5th theater, but there were 4 Ant-Mans. One was ending, one was midway, and then the other 2 looked almost empty. And so there's too much. They're occupying too many screens in general. Number one.
So so they only had Cocaine Bear on how many screens? One.
Wow. And
so
this was a
trip. Disney.
And this is a trip because when I went to see Cocaine Bear, I saw it on what day was that? I didn't see it on a week. When did I see it? Did I see it Friday? No. I didn't see it the week. Wait, did I see it when it first came out? God dang it! What day did I see? No, I saw it Thursday. I guess I saw it. No. I apologize. I saw it Sunday. That's when I went to see it. Dude, it was 85% fucking full, that theater. And that theater, and I usually go to the movies on the same, I go to the same cinema, but it was in one screen, and it was like fucking 85% full. Like the only seats that were open were like the 4 handicap ones on the back right, 4 on the back. I think it was like 120 seat theater, and like literally like 90 to 100 people were in there. It was full.
Wow.
Like there were even people that came in as a group that they were like sitting in like 2 rows back to back. You know what I mean? You could tell that they couldn't sit together. Yet the Ant-Man ones weren't big. So I think that's one problem that we have. The second problem we have is just, we've got to get more diversity of the films that are out there, meaning that we've got to get back to those glory days where you would have a horror movie, a comedy, a romantic comedy, maybe a sci-fi, and or superhero. The diversity of films right now is just awful. You have artsy fartsy shit that no one watches and cares about. And then you have these blockbusters that suck that no one wants to go and see. And there's just got to be more stuff out there. I mean, that's like, for example, just take this past weekend. My kid didn't want to go see anything, and we had time and money to go. Instead, we went to Dave & Buster's.
That is a better option.
That's a better option. No, I agree.
I mean,
you're right,
really,
Mike.
There's not going to be a whole lot of screens out there where Bikini Hackers is going to be playing, and nobody also wants to see that. I mean, because that's kind of the alternative that we have at the same time.
Mikey does.
Not with my 10-year-old, but when he turns 16. Maybe.
I was going to say, Bikini's in the title. He's there, dude.
But there isn't that diversity of quality product out there. And
I
that
think
makes
this next weekend coming up here is going to be the first weekend since the lockdowns that we've actually had what I would consider a standard release weekend, because you'll have in its fourth weekend holdover Ant-Man. You have opening up Scream 6 and 65. You also still have Cocaine Bear out there and that Jesus Revolution movie that are doing well. I think this upcoming weekend is going to be and Creed. Sorry, I forgot all about Creed. So I think this upcoming weekend is going to be the first time we're actually going to see the top 5 films gross a decent amount of money since things have been shut down. There's actually stuff out there for people to see, right?
It's a competitive month. Yeah.
Yes.
But that also goes in line to like what the title of this article is saying, is that they want more movies. Right. The problem is that, and to the point that Mexican Iron Man made, is if you're going to an average cinema and 4 out of the 5 screens are a Disney film, you're not going to get the diversity you need in the market to generate the income that the theaters will need in order to maintain their operating costs.
Yep.
Going back to that, that's where I was griping before, and that's where I think movies like Megan and Cocaine Bear have suffered, because they come up against 2 big Disney films, and Disney has these deals where you have to keep the movie in so many theaters for so long. With Avatar, it was one thing, it benefited them. With Ant-Man, this is why I think they're bitching, because they've got, like Mike just said, 4 theaters showing Ant-Man, and not even most of them are half full, but you've got an almost completely sold out Cocaine Bear showing, right? And this is what I was told from no less than 3 or 4 individuals who messaged me, and I saw one of them was in the chat too on one of the shows, where they said they went to go see Cocaine Bear, but they couldn't get in because it was sold out. All the showings. Because they were only showing it in like 1 screen. And you could see it in the number of screens, because if you went and looked, Ant-Man still had close to 4,000 screens that weekend, and Cocaine Bear had almost 1,000 less screens than Ant-Man did, right? It was only in this, it was like 3,000, what was it? 3,800 some screens for Ant-Man, and, or what was it? I can't remember now, but it was like 800 less, basically. It was what it was. And it was like, okay, so Cocaine Bear is performing that much better per screen than all these other ones of Ant-Man, because Ant-Man was below its average in comparison, even though it was making more money. But anyway, that being said, yeah, this is going to be the first weekend where we actually have some competition coming up. But it just goes on here. I thought it was an interesting...
One other caveat, one other thing I'd like to say is that I can understand where the theaters are coming from. As someone who's been for more than a decade and a half, aside from COVID, going to 30 to 50 movies a year in the cinema, I think that it is astounding to me how much better the cinematic movie-going experience for me is at the average theater. I mean, you have places where they serve you full dinner. You have places that have bars. You have places where you can walk up, order, and go straight to your seat, and they'll bring it out to you, even if it's just nachos and a hot dog, even if it's not like a more formal. I mean, going to the movies is an incredibly enjoyable experience overall for me. Overall, different theaters, different types of theaters, different formats, different brands. And so, these guys, I mean, the money's there to be made, but it's like Script said, you got to have that product out there.
And one of the other things that's also kind of tragic that a lot of directors and writers have been learning since the pandemic has been kind of dying down is the money on the independent side of things just isn't there as easily as it used to be. Some investment people have decided to kind of withdraw because everything was kind of put on hold for almost 2 years. So that's going to have to take some time to start up again before you start getting more options in theaters at this point. I think, you're only looking at maybe 2 handfuls worth of private investor firms within the industry that would be willing to put collateral up for an independent film. And that's not good. It used to be several dozen. Now it's down to so much smaller. And it's going to hurt the independent side of the industry for a while. At least
do you think that is because it's so difficult to get a distribution deal anymore, or what do you think it is?
I think it's a mix of both, because the primary aspect of it is, well, a sure way to get a good distribution deal is to get some theater screens, and that costs some money, but you can pull that off if you can on an independent
use like the festival circuit and other things for that. Yeah.
Well, beyond that, but you can also four-wall some theaters, or you can actually a lot of the investors that do work on independent stuff do have contracts in place with AMC and Cinemax and all those guys, so that they can actually get maybe 1 or 2 screens per region across the country for an independent film to debut. And usually if those sell out well, that's where they can negotiate for an expansion of screens within the theaters. But it's also really hard to do because, again, Disney does occupy a lot of screens within those theaters. So that's one problem of it. But the other part too is, like, again, because everything kind of shut down for 2 years, the independent side also shut down for 2 years. And the people that normally made their money investing in independent films, getting them distribution deals, getting their money back, plus a nice, comfortable profit, have decided to stop doing that, because if you can't make any movies, they can't keep, building up their own equity. So they pulled out and they've gone to other businesses. Now it's up to the filmmakers to try and bring them all back so that they can compete. And with that competition allows to get fresh blood in the studio system, so that we don't have to worry about studios being upset that they have 60% of their screens occupied with a studio film that sucks and underperforms, when the other ones of smaller budgets or smaller studios are kicking their butts, because eventually the alternative becomes the mainstream. Eventually Disney or another studio that has that deal will be grabbing that talent and getting them to produce the movies that occupy the 4 screens, so that they don't have to worry about selling them out. They always sell out. They are able to make their money. It's a very difficult negotiating process that's happening at this point.
Yeah, no, and it's funny you bring up four-walling, because I'm surprised after the pandemic that didn't start to become a thing again, because that was kind of something that was lost years ago, that indies and smaller B companies used to do to features, right? Like, instead of doing 2,000 prints and sending it out on a massive release, they would just have a few prints and open it up in a market here, and a market there, and a market here, and a market there, and four-wall these theaters basically. And you're right, a lot of times that's kind of how these independent films used to make their money back. I mean, I'm trying to think of specific ones, but that's kind of how, like, New Line used to work originally too, in a lot of ways. And in fact, I remember Bob Shea saying he remembers going around with the actual prints of the movie in his trunk. I think it was one of the early John Waters movies he was talking about at the time, where he would go from college to theater, and just truck it along, and he would be the guy to actually take it there, and they'd put it in the reel for the weekend, and that was
collect the ticket sales, make the deal with the theater, and then move on to the next. Yeah.
And he said it was just funny because he'd run around with it in the trunk of his car.
Yeah, and it'd usually be a couple of reels in the canisters too, so it's not an easy thing to carry.
No, you're talking like 5 reels exactly, and they're in a canister, so like it's not, and I think you can only fit like 3 reels per canister, I think it is.
Well, it depends. There's various different sizes of canisters.
Right. I was gonna say, I see them trucking along 3 or 4 of them per movie. Was my point.
One more point I want to make about the theaters is that when you look at the financial structures of their balance sheets, a lot of these firms, all these companies benefited from the SBA, COVID, PPP programs. They benefited from, now there's the employee retention tax credit programs, which many of them have gotten those monies now, which is for retaining employee slots post-COVID. The one thing that they couldn't, some of them increased their debt load because they were banking on the industry coming back. But the one, so a lot of them got additional debt. Some of them had to restructure, with bankruptcy court filings. All of them got the PPP. All of them got the employee retention tax credits that were available for the government. But the one variable, the one factor that they could not count, that's a wild card as to why they're still suffering, is because this woke run of Hollywood subpar products comes out, and that more than anything shows the killing of the theater experience for the average populace. Because when you give us something like Spider-Man, you get over performance and you get strong performance. When you give us crap in the marketplace, people don't want to get up and go.
I think the other side of it too is the ever constant raising of prices. I will say that. Like, there's some people who are just refusing to go just because they're not going to pay $20 to go see one movie. They're like, why would I go do that when I can buy 2 movies for that on a DVD? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's understandable. And that's where I think the premium experiences are going to come more into play. And I'm talking about, like, the Alamo Draft Houses and some of these other places where you go where it's literally like a barn restaurant with a theater. I think those are going to be a bigger thing in the future as well, because they have a little bit more to offer adult fare as far as that goes, and you'll see more kid versions of those too, I bet, where you'll have like birthday party screenings and stuff like that, where they'll start to integrate that kind of stuff a little bit more. That's one way they can also help their bottom line, because that's the thing, the theaters have kind of taken it up the ass for the last 20-30 years. And when the pandemic happened is when they kind of had a swing shift and like, no, we're not going to take your bullshit anymore, because the studios had them in a vice grip as far as like, these big movies would open up and they would get a huge portion of the box office in the opening weekends. And that would in turn make it to where the theaters had to hire more staff to handle these movies, but they weren't making as much at the box office. So they had to raise the prices on the popcorn and the drinks and the candy. And then they couldn't afford to hire as many people. So then you get to the point where people would bitch about theaters being sticky floors and food and popcorn all over the place. And, not enough people at the concession stands to run things and all the problems that come along with it. I remind people, 90% of the gripes that most people have with theaters are because the studios have got them in a vice grip and they can't afford to hire any more people than they have, or decent people, or pay a decent wage. I mean, even it used to be that you used to have people in the projector booths too, but even that's all automated now and stuff like that. But so that goes without, there's a lot of problems there too. Like, I don't know how many screenings how many times have I come back from a screening and I would say the first 15 minutes was fucked up for some reason, or they ran the wrong movie, or something was screwed up. It was supposed to be 3D and and it wasn't 3D. And every time. Yeah. And I always have to go tell somebody, and it takes 20 minutes to get something done because there's no projectionist up there.
No.
It used to be, you'd say something, they go, hey, Tony, Jurassic Park is out of focus. Oh, shit, sorry. Like, they would fix it real quick.
Yeah.
I'd go insane if I owned a theater right now. Maybe that's just me, but like not being able to control what movies I put on my screens. Being told what has to air on all my best screens, all my screens, period, and on any given week. And if the movies suck, well, too bad for me. I couldn't do it personally. I just
I heard those that exact. It's funny you mentioned that, CC, because I talked to somebody who owns a smaller theater. She has like a video store and theater combined, and in the basement is the theater, and upstairs is the video store. And she was griping because of how long it takes for her to move one movie to one theater to the other, and how Disney would force her to do that. And it was always Disney usually. Like it was, I think at this time Wreck-It Ralph 2 was out and something else. And I can't remember, but there was another movie that was doing much better than that and she wanted it in the bigger theater, but she had to leave Wreck-It Ralph 2 in the big theater, even though nobody was going to fucking see it. And selling out one of her, I mean, she had really small theaters. So like, that's what pissed her off, right? Like, she could be selling twice the amount of tickets or 3 times the amount of tickets in the bigger theater. But yeah, Script Doctor has to leave us. So Script, anything to say on your way out the door?
No, other than just thanks for having me on tonight. Everybody hit that like button. Be sure, if you're not subscribed, to subscribe to Midnight's Edge After Dark, and to all the wonderful people here on this panel. I have to be off, but I will see you all guys later, and have a wonderful evening.
Take care.
Indeed.
Thank you, Script.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, we're going to be getting out of here shortly ourselves. Anyway, we have a super chat here from Sean Carter who says Mexican Iron Man's secret power is the ability to teleport anywhere by jumping through a window.
You know what? These are hashtag fake news, hashtag lies, hashtag fake news. Hashtag racism.
You can't just throw racism at it because that is not exclusive.
Why not? The SJWs do all the time. No?
That's not how the Force works.
Yeah, okay.
All right, kids, let's get out of here. Klobby, you got something coming up. I'm sure you always got a show or two on the horizon.
Well, thanks for having me. Great to see you with my friends here and on the chat and my good buddies on the panel. Tomorrow night, Loki and I will have I think we'll have the comic book roundtable at 7 Central, and then I'll have my show at 9 Central, my wild card Wednesday night. And then Raquel and Mark and I will be for the Klobby's Clubhouse, 9 p.m. also, Thursday night. And then, of course, Saturday night Star Trek, 9 p.m. also, reviewing all of real Star Trek. And I'll be hanging out with Nick and the gang, but I'll let him tell you about that on Friday night.
And then Kenneth Dowling sends us in another super chat. Thank you so much. Says Batman and Spider-Man are the best superheroes to me. Batman because of his skill, resources, and commitment, and Spider-Man for his powers, affability, and reliability. Tell Script when you see him. Peace. All right, I'll just screenshot this right now. And I will put it in our DM group so he sees it. So thank you, Kenneth, for that. And Nick, I got I just updated it. After the show, it will redirect over to Nick's stream for Toxic Tuesday. We're in roughly, about a half hour, give or take. You'll be starting to talk about John Wick 2.
Yes.
Hello. About an hour, but maybe I should definitely consider maybe doing 8:30 for the future, since consider the average time it usually ends. But anyways, yes, it's an hour, but John Wick Chapter 2 in an hour. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. So it'll give you guys perfect intermission to whether it's have dinner or get your exercise in something. It's gonna be fun tonight. Looking forward to talking about it, especially since we're on 3 weeks of Wick, and yeah. Parabellum next week as well. So yeah, please come hang out with us. It's gonna be a blast.
Why did you kill my dog again?
We'll even have Mad Bargain with us tonight too, on top of it all. So yeah, thanks for having me, Tom, and shout out to our mods, D-Bud, Gods of Whim, Steph. I saw you there as well. Deleted Scenes, and to our chat, thanks for being here. And yeah, good conversation as always, and good to have Mike back.
Indeed.
Yes, indeed.
CC, what you got going on?
Friday nights, they got the late show on Loki's Mornings of Mischief. Hopefully with Mike, Mexican Iron Man. Good to have you back. And then
it's
after
in the title.
Well, yeah, but sometimes it's not in the title, right?
It's funny because the guy who's in the title is there the least, besides me, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a great show. Last week was really, really fantastic. Just talking about whatever we're talking about. And then after that, sing some karaoke on my channel into the late night.
Even if I can't do a very good job, I still show up. So yes, check into that, and I usually join for both, if not one or the other. And Mike, speaking of the man of the hour, anything you got coming up? Taxes?
Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah. I'm so far behind, I don't even know where to start. But thanks for having me back. I missed you guys, and I love the show. I really do love the show. I love the show. And if someone ever told me I was going to be streaming with Tom Connors as well as you other fine gentlemen on this MEAD show, I'd be like, get the heck out of here. So thanks for having me. See you Friday night.
Getting all sentimental now.
Yeah, kind of, because I kind of missed you, Tom. I gotta be honest.
Well, we missed you here.
It's like a part of my regular schedule, and then plus Mom's asking, "How's Tom?" And
Yeah, I gotta meet Mom.
She's here with me now.
One of these days. Oh, she's there all the time or just visiting?
No, she's just here for the month of March.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Yeah, no, one of these days I got to get out there. It is definitely going to happen. So with that, as we remind everybody, Mikey's home.
I wonder what sounds a rabbit chicken would make. Would they go, No, that's
I don't think they make any noise.
Actually, they don't even have a mouth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or a butt. So they can't fart or speak.
No.
But isn't that the best kind of pet? It doesn't make any noise. It doesn't shit anywhere. I mean, they do have advantages.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with that, I'm going to try and hop in later on with Nick and the boys. Although I love the first John Wick. Don't hate the second one. Just, it's not as good.
Okay.
And what's her name? Rose.
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose is in it too.
Yeah.
Why did they kill my dog again? Now I gotta kill everybody all over again.
Stop killing dogs.
Well, this time it was his house that got burned down.
Yeah, no, it's not. Just kidding. That would have been if they made it in the 80s. He'd have got a new dog and they'd have killed his dog again.
Yeah. That's right. This time it's personal. A dog again.
They killed his dog again.
Why
did they do it to me again? Why does this keep happening to me?
Big question to me is why after he wipes out the first 40 dudes, the other guys are going, you know what? I don't think I'll fight him. Look, I'm out of here. I quit. Because he's gonna kill me. He's gonna shoot me in the face. He's gonna shoot me in the face.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of it, at least with the films. They cap off the one story and then they set off another one. Like the reason now he was being the second one is because of all the shit he did in the first one, right? Is he's being chased around? Remember correctly? So yeah, and then he breaks a rule, and then the third film is that's one's about. So I mean, at least they keep like I just said in the Clobby, like we just said, if they made these in the 70s or 80s, pure example, look at the Death Wish movies. Like we were talking about Death Wish last night. They call the fifth Death Wish movie The Face of Death because literally if you see Charles Bronson's face, you're either going to die by him or because you know him.
Nick, I want you guys to count how many times he shoots somebody in the face in this one tonight. You'll be busy.
Oh boy.
Face shots. I want them counted.
And D-Bud knew exactly where I was going with this because yes.
2, 3, yeah. Don't even breathe near Charles Bronson back then.
No. You can't be his friend and you can't be his enemy. Just pretend you don't know him. That's the only way you're safe in a Death Wish movie.
Exactly. Oh crap!
Either way, your chances of living go down astronomically the moment he walks in the room.
I hope John Wick 5 is about him like somebody accidentally flipping him. Someone flips him off in traffic and he kills everybody in traffic.
Wick 5 Road Rage.
Road Rage. Yeah.
No, I think the fourth one is shaping up to be something pretty good. Because didn't you say the early reactions to it, Nick, were pretty good? I think you said in the chat earlier.
Yes, I did.
So hopefully it's good. I do like the sequels, but they have a lot of that video game quality to them, right?
Like watching a video game after a while.
Exactly. It's after a while you're like, where's the cutscenes?
I love the sequel, but I'll have my arguments on that later. Yeah, and the video games aspect of it is not lost on me, but it's John Wick being an action hero. I
like the third one much, personally.
I like the third one, I think, better than the second one, if I remember right. But I haven't watched either one of them since I saw them in theaters. That's the problem, and that's part of the reason why. Yeah. That's the only reason why I don't grace Toxic Tuesdays if I haven't watched the film a while, so I can comment on it.
Makes sense.
Otherwise, yeah, that's the only reason I don't. Nick knows that, so at least I hope so.
Yep.
I do.
So then I actually take the time to do normal things like bathe.
What?
Wow. Imagine that.
Well, I got to find time to do it sometime, Mike.
Well, God, that's just... I don't even. I can't even respond to this.
When do you think, when do you think I get anything done during the day? I mean,
you live stream 4,000 hours a week.
I know.
There's time in there to say, "Hey, I'm not going to do this live stream. I'm going to go to have a personal day."
What do you think MEAD Radio is? That's usually when I go to the store, get something to eat, take a shower. I mean, I'm having a good day when people are flying in the requests, but then that's when I'm busy on MEAD Radio. Then I can't take a shower.
What about the other 4,000 streams you're on?
Somewhere in between all that, I got to find time for all those things eventually. And then
you don't have to do all the live streams you do.
No, I know, and I backed off on a lot of them. Yeah, I try not to sign up for as much as I should. I love supporting my gang. You know,
Oh, yeah.
especially
I know you do. You give
Yeah.
everything that you have. You ask for nothing. You give
True.
everything. But I just don't want like crickets to start growing like in your like ear hairs or something.
Oh no,
Like-
I'm somebody who's very OCD. I don't if I don't have a shower for like 2 days, I get like I feel like yucky.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, I'm somebody who's very like I loved being in Vegas because my hotel room had the world's most awesomest shower.
Oh, did it
And
have
then I
one of
had a
those
hot
rain
tub.
ones where it falls from the top? And it's
No,
all-
but it was like
nice.
high powered. It was like a
I love the
men's gym
high-powered ones,
shower. Yeah, you like walk in, it was a huge
Nice.
fucking shower thing. You'd get all nice and clean, and then I go jump in the hot tub. So I felt extra clean. And I do that twice a day when I was in Vegas. That was amazing.
Nice.
Because every morning I got up and every morning before bed. Well, and usually sometimes in the afternoon. So sometimes 3 times. That only takes a shower when the chat gets up. If the chat starts to smell me, I know it's time for a shower. And with that, yes, I love high power shower. I do. I love feeling so clean. Like I like feeling so clean like I had to grow a new layer of skin after the shower. That's what I'm like.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. All the
That's
water pressure.
Yes. Like I want to feel like needles are hitting my skin, and I hate needles. I forgot to take my medicine last night. That reminds me. I better do that.
and
All
with
right,
that-
kids. Let's get out of here.